I used to look like this right here. And if you were anything like me growing up, you were also a bit insecure about your body, right? You know, for me personally, I was the fat kid in school and I always used to play video games every single day. You know, at this point, I'd been struggling with my weight for years and years, and it just felt like there was no solution whatsoever. You know, I remember just looking at the kids who were skinnier than me at school and just wishing that I could swap bodies with them. I used to daydream what it would feel like to get more attention from looking good rather than being overweight. And after years of trial and error, just doing all these different things, I started to go in the right direction. And I managed to take my body from looking like this and this right here to finally looking like this. In this video, I'll share the 3 steps that I follow to finally get lean so you can do the same. And not only that, you will make so much faster progress than me because you can just learn from my mistakes. First of all, what does it even mean to actually be lean? Like for most of us, right? We imagine having an aesthetic body, like that beach body that most of us dream of having. You're confident when you take your shirt off and you're not really anxious about the way you look anymore. But at the same time, you're not a pro bodybuilder. You're not like a mass monster, right? And you're not too skinny either. It's like a good balance in between. On a quick side note, if you want to help grow a community of young men who work to become the best version of themselves, mentally and physically, then join my Discord right now. It's the first link in the description. Alright, now that we got that out of the way, let's jump right into it, shall we? Step number 1. You have to stop eating food. Yes, you heard me right. From this point on, you are not allowed to eat food anymore whatsoever. I have officially sent you to no food jail. And if I see you consume anything else besides water after watching this video, I'm literally gonna call your parents, bro. So you better watch out. Okay, I'm actually gonna be serious. The first step that I followed was to be in a calorie deficit. And I know you probably heard this word like a million times before, right? And it's still pretty confusing to what it actually means. I could make like a completely separate video on just this thing alone. But the only thing you actually have to remember, bro, is that it means that your body burns more calories than you eat throughout the day. There are mainly 3 different ways that you can do this. Either you eat less calories during the day, you increase your daily activity, you know, by exercising, or the third one, you make a combination of both. And I know this might sound so complicated right now, but trust me, it's really easy to understand and I will explain it. You know, when I first started with exercising, I was about 17 or so and I weighed about 100 kgs. You know, my body looked something like this. And my day just consisted of playing video games for like 10 hours straight and just eating a lot of bad foods. And you know, the most kind of exercise that I got at the time, it was literally like walking to the kitchen and then back. So the approach that I started following was to increase my daily activity. And no, this doesn't have to be anything extreme whatsoever. It all depends, you know, where you're starting from. From my experience, you know, I was sitting down for like 10 hours straight every single day playing video games. So I had to start with something basic. I started out with 15-minute walks every single day. That was an easy way for me to just get my body moving and actually get myself outside for once. And it doesn't have to be just walking. You can literally do any exercise you want, whether it's riding a bike, going for a swim, or anything else. Why I specifically choose walking is because it's a nice entry-level exercise for me personally. And you know, it didn't completely destroy my knees compared to like running instead. And it was also an easy way for me to just get some exercise in rather than just sitting inside all day. Now, besides going for a walk every single day, I decided to make a conscious effort when it comes to the food and drinks that I was having. Now, it's not rocket science to understand that you probably shouldn't be eating like cookies and pizza every day, right? I'm not saying that you have to stop eating them completely, but just calm yourself down for a bit. An easy example that really helped me is when it comes to soda. You know, at this point in my life, I think I was literally drinking more soda than actual water. And it was just so many wasted calories for no reason. So what did I do? Instead of drinking, you know, the full sugar ones, to swap them with diet sodas. And I know this isn't the best option, but it's at least better, you know, than drinking the full sugar ones. So if I wanted to treat myself, for example, you know, going out for dinner or whatever, then I would get a Coke Zero rather than a full sugar one. And just doing small things like this makes a huge difference if you actually want to get lean. The second step that I followed was the progressive overload. And this is basically just a fancy word for easing yourself into it and slowly increasing the effort that you put in. The key word that I want you to take away here is slowly. One of the mistakes that I kept doing for years and years was to get too ahead of myself. I wanted to make progress right away and I had no patience whatsoever. So what ended up happening? I went balls to the wall for like 2 weeks straight, but then I would just end up quitting because my body got way too exhausted. When I decided to try again, a couple of months later, I still had not learned from my mistake and I did the same thing again and again. And I kept thinking to myself, man, I've been putting in all this hard work. Why am I not seeing any progress? This was one of the main reasons why, because I did too much at the start and my body got way too overwhelmed. Remember what I said earlier. The key word is what? Slowly. It was once I slowly eased myself into it instead of rushing that I actually started to make good progress. Just think about it. What do you think is more effective? Doing everything great for 2 weeks and then you end up quitting? Or you do it pretty good but you stay consistent for a couple of months? It's a no-brainer, right? As long as you don't stop and you gradually make it harder for yourself, there's just no way that you won't see results. Okay, so I told you about progressive overload and how it basically works, but how do you apply it to fitness? This is what basically I did. I told you that I started out with doing 15-minute walks every day, right? I kept walking for the same amount of time every single day until I stopped losing weight. And how do you figure that out? You just weigh yourself, after going to the bathroom in the morning. And if the weight is still the same, then you have to increase the amount of walking. So what did I do? Instead of walking, 15 minutes, I just added another 10. So I walked 25 minutes instead. And then I followed the exact same process until I stopped losing weight again. And then I increased the time even more. How I apply this to the gym is basically that you either do more reps or more weight. Let me give you an example. So let's say I do 50 kilograms of bench press for 8 reps. And the next time I'm going to do bench press, then I try and do 9 reps instead. You see what I'm getting at? This is very important for you to actually make progress, because otherwise you would just look the same year after year, just like I did. I had the mindset that if I just go to the gym and I lift the same amount of reps and use the same amount of weight, I would just keep on making progress. But the truth is, your body will get used to that kind of resistance, and that's why you have to make it harder for yourself. Now, the final step that I followed, and this one is the most important of them all. If you don't follow this step, you will literally make zero progress whatsoever. And you can just forget what I've been saying in this video. And that is to stay consistent. I know this is like the most basic and generic answer ever, but there's a reason why so many people keep talking about it. The things that I just told you, calorie deficit and progressive overload, none of that matters if you don't stay consistent, because what's going to end up happening is that you stay the same year after year, exactly like I did. And I know that it's a hard pill to swallow, and that's why it's so important that I mention this, and you have to put all your focus on it as well. Otherwise you would just end up wasting years of progress like I did, when you could have made great progress in just a couple of months instead. The best advice that I can give you when it comes to staying consistent, and this really helped me, let's say you have a goal of staying consistent for 6 months in a row. Instead of thinking about it like 6 months, because that's a very big goal, think about it on a daily basis instead. Instead, just think about it in days at a time. What I mean by this is that if you have a goal set for yourself, to stay consistent for a longer period of time, it's very easy to get overwhelmed. So instead, break it down into days instead, where you just focus on doing the things that are necessary for that day alone. Then I promise you that it will be so much easier to actually reach your goals. As long as you have this mindset, sooner or later you will have reached that goal that you set for yourself without really thinking about it, right? Because you put your focus on the day ahead of you. I promise you, if you have this approach instead, you're going to make a massive difference to your consistency. And in the end, you still get satisfied because you reach your goal. So in summary, the 3 steps that I followed. Step number 1, be in a calorie deficit. You consume less calories during the day, and then you increase your daily activity with any exercise you want, like walking, swimming, or whatever you think of. Step number 2, progressive overload. The thing that I mentioned earlier. You have to slowly ease yourself into it and gradually increase the effort that you put in. When it comes to the walking, increase the time that you walk. If you go to the gym, increase the reps or weight that you use. And don't rush the process. You're only going to end up quitting. So take your time. And finally, step number 3, you stay consistent. You use the mindset that I mentioned earlier, where you focus on the daily task instead of the bigger picture. You're still going to end up reaching your goals that you have, but you just approach it from a different angle. That is pretty much it, bro. And I hope that you found some value in this. And remember, if you want to help grow a community of young men who work to become the best version of themselves, mentally and physically, then join my Discord right now. It's the first link in the description. And thanks for watching.